Join us in our conservative safe space to talk about issues that are relevant to us, the young conservative movement. Tuesdays, 10 o'clock, AC Nation Radio. Be there.
Yes, welcome to AC Nation Radio Network 2. You are listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show, 646-564-9777. It's a call-in number, 646-564-9777. Tonight we have a great privilege and a great honor, and I'm very glad that she's going to spend some time with us this evening. Ms. Karen Bowerman, who is not only a dean of a university department regarding economics and entrepreneurialism, is also a supply-side economist and a Reagan Republican. Adorable picture of her standing next to the great one, Ronald Wilson Reagan, and you'll see that on her website. We want to make certain that in this generation that you have a second chance or opportunity, that you don't turn over to Marxist liberals and quacks like Biden. So I want to introduce to everyone this, particularly present to some, Ms. Karen Bowerman. Good evening. How are you doing?
Good evening. I'm doing great, and I'm certainly pleased to be speaking with Mr. Exceptional. That is an exceptional opportunity.
So, forgive me, my cold comes in and out, but I just want to, which one is it? Is either Oregon or Oregon State? Who are you with this year?
Oh, this is just a painful question for me. I pride myself on being transparent and direct and telling you on political matters exactly how it is. And on this question, you got to know, we've got one daughter who graduated from OSU, and I know she's listening because she just Facebooked me that she is. And then we have another one in school at U of O. I can't commit on that one.
Well, I hope that's the only thing in your political life that you cannot commit to. And I just think that's the most wonderful thing in the world.
Well, that's where you have to say I'm rooting for both.
Listen, tonight we're very excited about Richard Murdoch. We hope that you will do the very same thing. Why did you get into the race? I mean, you've already had a splendiferous life in terms of academics, in terms of family, in terms of politics at the local and state level. Why did you decide to run for Congress now in this particular season?
I'll be honest with you. It's because of having been a dean of a business school and following those economic indicators for so many years and not liking the way they're going right now, being very concerned about that and feeling that I should really step up to the plate to try to help do something about those indicators. And that's why I'm in the race. I want to make a difference along with other good folks who are serving in D.C. right now.
Exactly. Now, you may have got a gander of a little bit of what I was talking about earlier about Richard Lugard going down this evening, Richard Murdoch coming in. And a lot of people are not expecting individuals like yourself to be successful, or Richard Murdoch, individuals who believe that if you get $1, that you shouldn't spend the whole dollar and add another 25 cents of debt to it. Is that resonating in Oregon right now?
It is. I think Oregon is much like so much of the rest of the country in saying it's time for fiscal conservative approaches to how we spend money. And we can't continue that level of debt. It's absolutely unfathomable that we continue to do that. We've got to stop it.
Yeah. Now, I just want to tell you right now, before I got on the phone with you, we got an endorsement from Whoopi Goldberg. I know you weren't expecting it, but this is Whoopi Goldberg talking about you.
His nickname is Dr. No, because
right.
It's like no big government, no
right.
Department of Education,
right.
no
UN,
no
IRS, no IRS.
He doesn't want any of that.
I love it.
I'd like somebody to get rid of the death tax. That's what I want. I don't want to get taxed just because I died.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's right. If I give something to my kid, I already paid the tax, so I got to pay again because I died. It's like being chastised. Anyway, only, you know what, can I just say something about that? Only people with a lot of money say that, but that's okay. anyone who wants to leave something to their kid, whatever you paid for it, they have to pay.
I know.
It's horrible. It doesn't matter if you have money or don't have money. Once you've paid your taxes, it should be a done deal. You shouldn't have to pay twice. No taxation without representation. Sorry. We'll be right back with even more hot topics.
Now, it's a shame that Joey Behar couldn't come along and endorse you as well, but your opinions on the death tax have pointed you out in the state of Oregon as well. Did you believe that Whoopi Goldberg shared your same opinion on death tax?
I did not know that, and I had not heard her say that. She shares our exact opinion. I happen to be Oregon spokesperson for the death tax phase-out in this state, and when I get to Washington, I can't wait to support the phase-out of our federal death tax as well, for the reasons that Whoopi said, and also it has an incredible impact on jobs, and I'd love to discuss that a little bit if we have time.
Yeah, that's one of the major reasons I wanted you on here, because I myself, my family has farm holdings and land holdings in the South, and it's no sense of us as a family having to pay taxes on it while we're living, and then pay taxes as we're leaving out as well. That definitely is an inheritance question.
You bet it is. And in addition to the fiscal aspects of it that you've described right there, and the double taxation, this destroys jobs too. How often is it that the heirs in some kind of an estate that is being passed along, whether it's a family business or family farm, those heirs don't have the liquid assets to be able to pay that death tax? And so their time is limited by the government in terms of how long they have to pay it. They too often have to sell the assets of that business or family farm in order to get the liquidity to be able to pay the tax. And by the time they've done that, the family business or the family farm is gone for all practical purposes. And so then the heirs who were counting on that business as their family business that they wanted to pass down to the next generation end up too frequently without a job, even themselves. And that's why this has such incredible impact on jobs in the state of Oregon and in the U.S.
Indeed. I mean, for a lot of people, a lot of people don't realize this about the South, but at one point, somewhere around about 1912, 1913, in that particular area, before the Great Depression set in, African-American families owned about 30 to 35% of the South, period.
Mm-hmm.
Just land. And as a result of them moving to the north and leaving family farms and things of that particular nature, it set up a crisis in terms of ownership and inheritance issues.
Mm-hmm.
Today, as a result of double taxation, and as a result of not having individuals to oversee the transference, or if they did, they were hit with such grand taxes they couldn't afford it. We now own no more than about 8%. So that is a dramatic drop in terms of land ownership. And it speaks to what we have in terms of wealth creation. But how does that affect family farms and individuals in Oregon specifically?
The same way, really. I think this information speaks to why people really dislike this tax so much. In 2001, that's not that long ago, all 50 states had a death tax, and today only 20 have it now. So the other 30 still have to deal with the federal death tax, but not with both. So the impact is a double whammy out here in these remaining states that still have the death tax. And by the way, there are only 3 states west of the Mississippi that have it. And these states want to be economically competitive too, and so that's why so many of us are putting in motion the effort to do away with it at the state level. In the U.S. overall, it would mean about 1.5 million jobs, and just in Oregon, it's about 44,500 jobs. That's the impact it has.
Okay, can you repeat those two numbers for the rest of America so they can understand the real way that you break down the unemployment numbers? Can you repeat those two numbers?
You bet it lowers overall employment in America by 1.5 million jobs, and in Oregon alone by about 44,500.
Now, I'm going to play a clip for you, and this is the Oregon unemployment numbers. And the fact these are for the month of March. You all lost some 6,000 jobs last year. Last month alone, 6,400 jobs last month alone. I'll just play the clip, and it'll explain all that for you.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Tom Fuller. I'm the Communications Manager for the Oregon Employment Department, and today we are releasing the unemployment and jobs picture for the state of Oregon for the month of February. Joining us this morning is Nick Balachiks, who is our state employment economist. Following that, I'll give some brief remarks about the unemployment insurance system in Oregon. Nick?
Thank you, Tom, and thank you everyone for joining us today in person or via the internet. Oregon's payroll employment dropped by 6,400 jobs in February, while the unemployment rate held steady at 8.8%, the same as it was in January. The U.S. unemployment rate also didn't change last month, and it remained at 8.3%. There were 193,000 unemployed Oregonians in February. That's about 1,000 fewer than in January, after adjusting for the normal seasonal unemployment patterns. There is still an extremely high number of people looking for work, but February marked 7 months in a row of fewer unemployed Oregonians.
So literally, in Oregon, as with the rest of the nation, the unemployment rate is not falling as a result of us creating jobs. As you can hear, that you lost 6,400 in 1 month. It's just that people are they're desperate. They've given up.
That's right. So many of the people there have dropped out of the data where they would show because they are no longer looking for jobs. They are so incredibly discouraged.
Exactly. So what do you hope to bring in this particular cycle of elections? What is your message, and how does it resonate to the people of Oregon?
Well, we've got to talk about jobs here, and if you separate out the data that we just heard in the recording there, even though it was 8.8% overall unemployment in the state back in February, if you look at just the lumber and timber industry, which is critical to this state and to this district, it is over 17%. And in fact, back in February, it may have even been 18+%. So that focuses us to that lumber and timber industry. And interestingly, and not surprisingly, federal regulations are in the way. Federal regulations are putting a blanket over our ability to expand jobs in that area. So they're called the O&C lands, and this is Oregon and California lands. It has long history to it. But we need to release the federal ownership of so much of Oregon's land and forest, because it is very limited in terms of how those lands can be managed by private industry or harvested by private industry. Oregon has fabulous natural resources, but we must be able to use them. And we believe in this state that if we have a healthy forest with healthy forest management, we also have a healthy economy. But right now, the federal government owns about 60% of our forest land, about 53% of our overall.
Wow.
Isn't that high?
Oh my God. How do you all make wealth?
That's tough when you don't really have that land available to you in the way that it could and should be. And then in the fishing industry, do we have the wonderful fish off of our coast. And again, the federal regulations are just squelching that industry so much.
Hi, how you doing? This is Butch Porter. I'm here with Walter Williams, a professor here at George Mason University and author of the projects, amongst other publications. So,
Karen, I can tell already just by listening to you. You're one of those people who just doesn't like the owl. You don't like the guppies. You don't like the little eels or whatever, or the little worms that keep the ecosystem rolling. You're trying to destroy all of nature for the oil companies. That's what you're trying to do, man. It's like not right.
Oh no, oh no. The beauty of all of this is that we can coexist. We can take care of our natural resources, and you know, there's no one better able to do that than the people who live off the land. They love their land, and they love what grows on it or in it, depending on the industry that we're talking about, and they are so eager to take the best of care of it.
Well, speaking of stuff that grows out of the earth, I just want to play for you. We're liberals have a great understanding of not only regulatory policy, not only natural effects in terms of development of resources, but the understanding of how the ideals of exuding taxation and everlasting spending can work cohesively together to meet the needs of a civil society in Oregon.
Well, it seems we just wrapped up elections a couple of months back. Now, one man is working to get a measure on the ballot in 2012 to legalize marijuana. K2's Joe Raineri joins us live outside the elections office in Southeast Portland. And Joe, he wants to tax pot. Is that the deal here?
And that's right, Steve. Paul Stanford's hopes by taxing it will actually bring millions of dollars into the state's economy. He already has hundreds of signatures, and folks we talked with tonight said they actually support his plan. Talk about legalizing cannabis. You find people who want to talk.
I've never known anybody to smoke pot and want to get up and go create some havoc and some crime.
So people get lazy and stay inside so I think it'd be fine.
That's exactly what Paul Stanford, the executive director of the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation, wants to see.
It'll be regulated and distributed to those over the age of 21.
Taxing it, making it widely available.
Well, we want to regulate it so that, businesses like bars and taverns that bar the admission of minors can offer that as a business.
He says it would bring a steady flow of cash to the state.
Alcohol revenues bring in about $75 million. We'll create lots of new jobs. We'll create all these new industries. We think it'll, be billions and billions of dollars in the long run.
A plan that would allow a drug that some say is safer than beer and wine.
It affects your brain differently. I don't think it affects it as severely as alcohol does, especially when you're driving.
But not everyone is ready to walk through a haze of smoke.
Typically, people that are smoking marijuana become more apathetic, and they lose their desire to get out, work, accomplish things.
Now, 90% of the revenue brought in would actually cover the state's general fund. Now, in order to get this on the general election in 2012, Paul needs to get nearly 90,000 signatures. Live in Southeast Portland tonight, Joe Raineri, K2 News.
Certainly a debatable topic. Joe, thank you very much.
Isn't that a wonderful concept, a wonderful idea? See, they understand economics, and how can we don't?
I don't know. And medical marijuana is another big subject of discussion out here too. Hopefully, state sovereignty wins, and so does the voice of reason in the maybe lack of signatures on that petition, or what happens with the petition if it gets to the voters. It's quite something, huh?
It is indeed. Now, when we return from our break, I have to throw in some silliness, otherwise you go crazy talking about politics. When we come back, we are going to talk about an issue that's affecting all of America, and that is the Executive Order 13575, and that's Agenda 21. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a primer show on that tomorrow with Talitha McEachin and Mike Moonzing. They're from Conservatives Best Friends Forever, and they're going to talk about that in great depth. But tonight I want to talk with Karen Bowerman from Oregon to find out how Agenda 21 is finally impacting the lives of individuals in the beautiful state of Oregon. Thank you so much for tuning in. You're listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show, 646-564-9777. We thank you so much for tuning in and listening.
to an Economic Minute. I'm Dr. Brooks Robinson. Today we explore monetary and fiscal policy. Monetary and fiscal policies are the policy instruments that are employed to manage the nation's economy. Monetary policy is controlled by the Federal Reserve Board. You know, the Fed can grow or shrink the money supply and lower or raise interest rates in order to expand or contract economic growth. Fiscal policy is controlled by the Congress, which controls the nation's purse strings. Congress can enact legislation that increases or decreases spending, lowers or raises tax rates, or increase or decrease regulations, which ultimately cause the economy to expand or to contract. Therefore, it's important that the Fed and the Congress work together and not at cross purposes in managing the economy. If you want to know the future direction of the nation's economy, it makes sense to know the monetary and fiscal policies that are being put in place. Remember, improving your understanding of economics helps you improve the quality of your life. With an Economic Minute, I'm Dr. Brooks Robinson.
Hello, I'm Herman Cain, and I'm honored to be addressing this rally for common sense. I want to thank you and patriots throughout the Midwest for stepping up to help save this country. You know, you all were patriots before patriots were cool. Let me ask you something. Do you know what comes after a Tea Party? A revolution. It's time for a new revolution in this country. Not with bombs and bullets this time, but with brains and balance. That's how we're going to take back our nation. Here's what we need to do. First, throw out this oppressive tax code and replace it with the 999 plan. That would return the greatest amount of power back to the people since the beginning of this country. The power belongs to the people, not the IRS. We need sound money and a balanced budget. Secondly, no more bowing to foreign leaders. We have enough energy resources right here to become energy independent, made in America. A 9-year path to energy independence. And thirdly, peace through strength and clarity. The Obama administration has not only failed to secure the border, they've given guns to the enemy. Secure the border. Don't touch our guns. Folks, just like David slew Goliath in the Bible, we can win this. Be a David. Join our army at KingConnections.com. We the people are coming. We want our power back. Victory.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, like Richard Murdoch, like Karen Bowerman, you have an opportunity to gain victory in America. Listen, on the 19th of this month, it's Saturday the 19th, out at Patriot Field of Dreams. You build it, they will come. Hope Summit, Missouri, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. You will be listening to not only the great Herman Cain, Ambassador Alan Keyes, Reverend C.L. Bryant, Dr. Gina Loudon, Mark Block, Alfonso Rachel, William Temple, K. Carl Smith, Stacey E. Washington, Michelle Moore, and many others. It's a blockbuster day of great patriotism and it's almost a spiritual happening in one particular place when we all come together and profess the liberties and the virtues of the U.S. Constitution and the spiritual origins of the King James Bible. Listen, ticket prices, I'm quite certain if you just went to a Herman Cain event recently, you probably spent about $200, $250 just to hear him and have a good chicken dinner. Believe it or not, all those individuals that I just mentioned, you're probably thinking $250. No, cut that. You're probably thinking $199. No, cut that. All of those great speakers, $10. There's no reason not to go. Saturday, May 19th, the Patriot Field of Dreams, Holt Summit, Missouri. Go to the rallyforcommonsense.org, rallyforcommonsense.org to find out more information. On 18 Nation Radio Network 1 tonight, you'll be hearing Martin Baker from out of Missouri, who's running for Congress there on the Alan Pateshman Show, On the Edge from Alan Pateshman. But tonight I have the greatest honor, and that's talking with Karen Bowerman from Oregon, who I believe is going to do exceedingly well, and I hope to visit her in her offices here in Washington, D.C. What committee would you like to be on, Ms. Bowerman?
I'm sorry?
What committee would you you like to be on?
What committee? I would like to be on in a couple of areas. One is agriculture because of the importance of agriculture to our state. And secondly, I got to deal with our debt, our deficit, our limited government. So there's, whether it's appropriations or some of the other budget-related committees, I really want to serve on one of those.
I would love to have you on the Ways and Means Committee.
Oh, I'd like that.
Oh my God! If you could just eliminate death tax, I would send you roses every single day for the rest of it. No, I'm just kidding. Not in my budget, but I would want to. No, I had a young. It sounded like a Republican in name only, but we wanted to have him on just because not too many choices that you have, so you got to deal with the choices you got. But fresh out of college, he wanted to be on the Ways and Means Committee, but couldn't explain any particular reason why. Fiscal policy was essential, but you know, you like to have ambition, but you like to have some background behind that. What is your background, Ms. Bowerman?
Having been a business dean, I have been in touch with the business community and linking it to the university and to local government for so many years, 32 years, in fact, in a very positive way, to the point that about 3 months before I retired, our college at Cal State University, San Bernardino, was declared one of the top 18 in the world for innovation. And a large part of that stemmed from our working so closely with the business community. But, you know, in that kind of a job, you look at those economic indicators, you're analyzing them constantly. I want to apply what I understand about the business community to government. We can do this the right way.
Now, let me just ask you, have we been successful with the stimulus monies, the $878 billion? Well, we might as well mark it up to $1 trillion because of all the interest that we're paying on it.
Yeah.
Was that stimulus successful? And
oh, my.
Why not?
It was successful in adding to our debt, wasn't it? But if we look to reasons that were originally outlined to stimulate the economy, goodness sakes, no. The examples that show how this money was really a waste are pretty profound, and we're not feeling the turnaround in the jobs that were promised as a result of that level of investment. What we're seeing instead is higher interest payments on our debt.
Exactly. It's kind of difficult. It's not like you would actually give the 13-year-old the keys to the house and the car for the weekend while you go to Acapulco and to enjoy yourself and relax, because there's no way you could possibly relax and enjoy yourself knowing that this person doesn't have any experience whatsoever in terms of economic policy. President Obama, his first real job was President of the United States of America. And that's very difficult to have in terms of background. You have experience in terms of education, economics, entrepreneurship. Why is entrepreneurialism so important in the next 2 to 3 years?
Let's hold it up, because if we list what entrepreneurship can do for our country, we have a positive attitude for growth, a positive means by which we can employ more people. Small business is such a wonderful way to employ people in greater numbers than is otherwise possible, but we've got to lift the regulations off of small business so that it can flourish. The Small Business Administration itself, and I find it ironic that this was done by a governmental agency, found that the cost of regulations for businesses with fewer than 20 employees was $1.75 trillion a year. Lift those government regulations from small business and imagine what is possible. That's our marching orders. That's what we need to do. Lift those regulations so that free enterprise can flourish.
Well, I've told many people who come on this show, and many of them have included it as part of their campaign discussion, the matter that this is the last real election between Keynesian economics and Hayek's policies on economics, that government can't control the invisible hand. And in fact, it becomes more of a stranglehold on the necks of those who actually produce wealth. Do you concur with that, or your thoughts?
Absolutely, and you know, to demonize the wealthy or those who produce wealth for the benefit of all, really, and for the benefit of the economy is such backwards thinking, because it is from wealth that we gain so much in our country. And I'm not talking about taxes. I'm talking about employment. I'm talking about the standard of living that is possible in this great nation. And if we have supply side economics working, the Reaganomics that we remember and love, we're going to be reducing government regulation. We're going to be reducing the growth of government spending. And when we do that, we are going to see such benefits, because it all is interrelated, isn't it? It relates to jobs, it relates to debt, it just ties it together correctly when we employ the supply side views.
Now, you know, I'm going to switch over to Agenda 21, and it's not often that I have a chance to speak with someone of great esteem as yourself, who actually you just really want to if you could move someone out today out of their office on Capitol Hill and reinsert someone else, you want to push you there so that actually things will actually work the correct way. So we're going to talk about Agenda 21 in a moment, but what was it like when you met Ronald Reagan?
Oh, he was such a powerful personality in a gentle way. It was just wonderful to see him work a room, talking to people, making direct eye contact with them, and people felt like they had been in the face of greatness, and they had been, but they felt it and they responded to it. He was like a magnet.
Exactly. So it wasn't something that, you know, we're all born with a certain portion of charisma. So it wasn't necessarily a greater abundance unto him for charisma. It was just his natural being. He was himself.
I feel that way, and that's I think maybe why it came across as gentle, because it was coming from his heart, coming from within.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And that's why with this particular president, I don't think it comes across that particular way. I don't think he has a great deal of charisma, first and foremost. Secondly, I don't think he does much outside of the teleprompter, because whenever he gets down to it on the teleprompter, Ronald Reagan, I don't believe, really compromised too often on his principles. The one time he did with Tip O'Neill on the taxes, he got burned. He learned his lesson wisely on that one. But this is the current president sitting down just about a month ago with a group of bipartisan college students to talk about compromise.
If you're only talking to people who you agree with, then politics is always going to disappoint you. Politics will always disappoint you. You think about some of the issues we've worked on over the last couple of years. I think the college Republicans here would say that I was a pretty liberal president, right? But if you read the Huffington Post, you'd think I was, some right-wing tool of, Wall Street, right? Both things can't be true. But I think that what it has to do with is the sense of, we have a position and we can't compromise on it. And so one of the challenges of this generation is, I think, to understand that the nature of our democracy and the nature of our politics is to marry principle to a political process that means you don't get 100% of what you want.
Can we afford in this next election not to get 100% of what we want? And where are you willing to compromise this moment?
Well, the way I feel is this. We must work across the aisle. We must work with other people in order to get things done and to get things done well. But where we don't compromise is when it comes to the Constitution and our individual liberties. And that's a couple of templates, I guess you would call them, by which I would look at bills, regulations. If there's anything that compromises constitutional principles or liberties, stay away from it. Because when we're working with other people to get things done, we can find, in many cases, areas of common territory, and that's where we can move forward. But if there's this other that people are saying, well, compromise on your liberty, just give up a little bit of private property or whatever in this case. No, absolutely not. Instead, that is called an educational opportunity. We educate the other perspective. Make it meaningful to them so they will understand too.
Now, liberals don't call that a teachable moment. What they call that is obstruction of the political process. That you right-wing nuts are going crazy, and you just want to take away from people, and you hate the poor, and you want old people to die.
I've heard that, believe me, and sometimes it comes up in the most strange situations where it clearly is an effort at simply polarizing and nothing more.
Exactly.
And that's not good on either side.
Exactly. Not at all. Now, the last real questions, and this is regarding Agenda 21. You've been so gracious to me. I told you 30 minutes, and you've been hanging on for another 10. So I really appreciate you in this regard. But it is Agenda 21. And I just want to play a real quick tape for you. And this is from Fox News on Agenda 21.
You'll find that they've also asked for the right to imprison farmers who wouldn't keep books as prescribed by the federal government. The Secretary of Agriculture asked for the right to seize farms through condemnation and resell them to other individuals. And contained in that same program was a provision that would have allowed the federal government to remove 2 million farmers from the soil.
If you live in the heartland of America, you have to listen up. While the nation was distracted with the Anthony Weiner drama, President Obama signed an executive order that will seize greater power over food, fiber, and energy in our vast countryside areas. The president created the White House Rural Council to, quote, make sure we're working across government to strengthen rural communities and promote economic growth. Sounds great, but get this. The council involves a long list of the most powerful people in America. Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner, the Defense Secretary's on it, Attorney General Eric Holder, even the head of Homeland Security, Janet Napolitano. Why would Homeland Security be involved in exerting power and influence over the heartland? Why would the Defense Department be involved in promoting economic growth? The plan calls for the federal government to control almost every aspect of rural America. It will also, quote, identify and facilitate economic opportunities associated with energy development, outdoor recreation, and other conservation-related activities. Really?
Is that what Ronald Reagan would have wanted for the America today?
Oh, my goodness, no. That is, it is such an intrusion on individual liberty. It's really beyond our comprehension. But when people experience it, like the farmers in the tape that you just played, they understand it personally. They become just incensed and truly become active to try to stop this. A lot of people don't know yet what Agenda 21 is. I was brainstorming with some people on the coast and some farmers the last couple of days when I was out and about in the 5th District here in Oregon. And we decided to call it, in part, a land grab, because people know what that means if they don't know what Agenda 21 means.
Indeed.
And, agriculture is so important here in Oregon, and we have farmers who have had the experience that was described in the tape and who have had an easement suddenly become half of their farm because there was a little bit of water trickling down the front of their property by the road, and so it was called a watershed and then had to be taken in the form of easement for the social good. No. And then the farmer couldn't plant on that, couldn't use that land that had been his own for purposes of generating wealth.
Now, you're in a very liberal state. Forgive me, I just feel like I have a billion questions for you, and I need for you to come back on. you're in a very liberal state. Do they understand what he did with an executive order, which is akin to really implementing a UN treaty without the consult of the U.S. Senate?
Some do understand and some don't. I've noticed, though, that even in the cities, in the urban areas, where the effects of Agenda 21 are already felt, there is a sense of activism because there is understanding. So it can happen with liberal or conservative who really gets it as far as the implications of this.
Exactly. Karen Bowerman, I've got to have you come back on. You are a wonderful human being, and I'm wishing you Murdoch kind of success in your primary next
thank
week.
you. Thank you so much. And I would love to be back on.
Yeah, the honor is all mine, and I do hope that you make it to the Ways and Means Committee, and for the very first luncheon where you sit down with the Speaker of the House and inform him that you want to defund Agenda 21.
You have it, man.
Appreciate it. How do people get in contact with you? How do people get in contact with you?
KarenBowerman.com is my website, KarenBowerman. My cell is there, my email is there. Give me a call. I love to be in contact in whatever form is easiest for you.
Listen, just like Richard Murdoch, I'm talking to everybody right now, just like Richard Murdoch, when Murdoch came on 30 points behind Richard Lugar, didn't even have any name value. Now he's won. He needed the same things that Karen needs right now. He needs notability, so if you have a way of making certain that she gets to an event in your area, you make it happen. If there's some money that you can give her, $5, $10, $15, $20, $25, whatever the small amount is, your liberty is worth more than that. But it'd be a down payment towards her getting to Washington, D.C. to make it happen for you. And then lastly, of course, you're going to need our prayers to make sure that this all comes apart for you. So KarenBowerman.com, is it .com or .org?
.com.
Make it your plan tonight. Go to her website, contribute, find a way to get her name out there, because we not only want her to win next week, we also want her to make it here to Washington, D.C. There's so much we have to do, thanks to this Obama administration's malicious behavior behind closed doors. Again, thank you so much, Ms. Bowerman, for coming on with us this evening.
Bless you, and thank you.
Bless you as well. Listen, this has been a fun night. I am telling you, this is the best of nights.